Have you ever imagined a country going bankrupt? Is it even possible? Unfortunately, this isn't just some far-fetched scenario. It's a harsh reality looming over several nations in Asia. The warning signs are already visible: soaring foreign debt, dwindling foreign exchange reserves, skyrocketing inflation, and a rapidly depreciating currency. On top of that, the world is still grappling with the lingering effects of the pandemic, ongoing geopolitical conflicts, and surging energy prices, all of which are making the situation even worse. Even the World Bank has projected that economic growth in East Asia and the Pacific will slow down, dropping from 4.8% in 2024 to 4.4% in 2025. This raises an urgent question. Which countries are teetering on the edge of economic collapse? And can they survive this crisis? As the United States' main rival and the largest economy in Asia, China is facing a slowdown in economic growth, expected to decline from 4.8% in 2024 to 4.3% in 2025. Several factors contribute to this downward trend, including a weakening property market, declining consumer and investor confidence, and deep-rooted structural challenges such as an aging population and mounting global economic pressures. Additionally, China is burdened with high levels of debt, particularly in its corporate sector and local government finances. As of September 2024, China's foreign debt stood at a staggering $2.5169 trillion. On the bright side, China still holds the largest foreign exchange reserves in the world, estimated at $3.2 trillion by the end of 2024. However, concerns are growing over the depletion of these reserves due to government interventions aimed at stabilizing the currency and supporting the domestic economy. Adding to the pressure, escalating trade tensions between the US and China continue to pose significant risks to the country's economic stability. Sri Lanka's government has long relied on borrowing to fund large-scale infrastructure projects, but poor planning and mismanagement have drained the country's foreign reserves. In June 2023, the World Bank approved a $700 million loan to help the country recover from its economic crisis. However, Sri Lanka's financial troubles worsened after a drastic tax cut in 2019, which led to a widening fiscal deficit. At the same time, a sudden ban on chemical fertilizer imports slashed agricultural output by up to 50%, triggering severe food shortages and skyrocketing prices. The COVID-19 pandemic only made matters worse, delivering a devastating blow to Sri Lanka's tourism sector, one of the country's primary sources of foreign revenue. As a result, ordinary citizens are now struggling with fuel shortages, prolonged power outages, runaway inflation, and rising poverty levels. Laos has also been swept into the tide of economic crisis, grappling with a mounting debt burden that has raised serious concerns about the country's financial obligations, particularly to its largest creditor, China. Since becoming the top foreign investor in Laos in 2013, China's influence over the country has grown significantly. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, estimates Laos's public debt to reach 122% of its gross domestic product, GDP, this year, with the majority owed to China due to infrastructure agreements made under Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Over the years, Laos has borrowed billions of US dollars from the Chinese government to finance major projects, including railways, highways, and hydroelectric dams. However, these developments have drained the country's foreign reserves, leaving the economy in a fragile state. The financial strain is so severe that even government employees, earning between 1.8 and 2 million Lao Kip per month, around 87 to 97 US dollars, struggle to afford fuel for their daily commute. As a result, many government workers have reportedly been working from home for most of the week, while taking on second or even third jobs to make ends meet. In January 2023, the World Bank identified Pakistan as having the weakest economy in South Asia. The country is not only struggling with food shortages and rising poverty levels, but it also faced a catastrophic flood in June 2022, which devastated vast agricultural lands, further crippling food production and worsening inflation. To make matters worse, Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves have plummeted to a new low of just 4.6 billion US dollars, barely enough to cover the country's import bills for a mere 3 weeks. This dire situation has made it increasingly difficult for Pakistan to finance essential imports like fuel, food, and medicine, pushing the country even closer to economic collapse. Myanmar's economy is projected to shrink by 1% in the fiscal year ending March 2025, a sharp decline from earlier estimates that had anticipated a modest growth of 1%. Several key sectors, including agriculture, manufacturing, and services, are expected to contract due to persistent raw material shortages, unreliable electricity supply, and weakening domestic demand. Beyond economic struggles, more than half of Myanmar's cities are currently experiencing active conflicts, further disrupting supply chains and border trade. The ongoing political instability and violence have severely hindered investment and economic recovery, pushing Myanmar's economy deeper into crisis. Bangladesh is currently facing a serious economic crisis, with inflation reaching 11.66% in July 2024, the highest level in 12 years, according to data from the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics. The rising cost of living has triggered widespread protests, further disrupting supply chains across the country. In addition to inflationary pressures, liquidity issues in the banking sector have worsened as the central bank has imposed restrictions on cash withdrawals due to growing political uncertainty following the resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. These economic and political challenges have created an unstable environment, making it increasingly difficult for businesses and ordinary citizens to navigate daily financial transactions. Despite being famous for its idyllic tourism industry, the Maldives is far from immune to economic turmoil, especially when it comes to its growing debt burden. In 2023, the World Bank issued a warning regarding the nation's rising public debt, which had already surged to 8 billion US dollars, equivalent to a staggering 122.9% of its GDP. The Maldives is also grappling with an unprecedented financial crisis, as its usable foreign exchange reserves have been completely depleted. This sharp decline has been attributed to several factors, including debt repayment obligations, increasing oil expenditures, and rising costs of essential imports. Without immediate financial intervention, the country may struggle to sustain its economy and maintain its critical imports. It may come as a surprise, but North Korea is also on the brink of a financial crisis in 2024. After maintaining a decade-long period of price and currency stability, the nation's economic landscape took a sudden turn for the worse. Between July and December 2024, the North Korean won lost nearly 2/3 of its value, plunging from an average of 8,000 won per US dollar, a rate that had remained stable for 10 years, to a staggering 27,000 won per US dollar by the end of the year. This sharp devaluation marks the end of North Korea's long-standing economic stability, raising fears of hyperinflation and further currency depreciation. Meanwhile, in a related economic downturn, the South Korean won also hit its lowest point in over 2 years, trading at 1,437 won per US dollar in December 2024. Though North Korea's economy has long been isolated from global financial markets, this collapse in its currency could signal deeper economic distress for the secretive nation. Since the Taliban takeover in 2021, Afghanistan's economy has suffered a 27% contraction, leading to severe economic stagnation, according to the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. The situation has worsened, with unemployment rates doubling and only 40% of the population having access to electricity. UNDP officials have also highlighted the challenges faced by local businesses, particularly the lack of capital in the private sector, which has further hindered economic recovery. The World Bank estimates that Afghanistan lost approximately 26% of its real GDP between 2021 and 2022, marking one of the most severe economic downturns in the region. Millions of people fell into poverty within months of the Taliban's return to power, with many now facing widespread hunger. As of 2024, 55% of the population is suffering from acute food insecurity, pushing Afghanistan closer to a full-scale humanitarian crisis. Finally, Lebanon is experiencing one of the worst economic crises in its history, which has been further exacerbated by escalating conflict with Israel. The United Nations Development Program, UNDP, has warned that if the conflict continues until the end of 2024, Lebanon's economy could shrink by 9.2%. Even in a best-case scenario where hostilities cease, economic contraction is still expected, with a projected decline of 2.3% in 2025 and 2.4% in 2026. The economic fallout from Israel's military actions has been devastating, with estimated losses ranging between 15 and 20 billion US dollars. Key industries such as tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, and trade have suffered major setbacks. Additionally, disruptions to trade routes and supply chains, along with direct attacks on infrastructure, have forced many businesses to either shut down completely or halt operations indefinitely, plunging the country deeper into economic distress. The economic struggles in many Asian countries stem from a combination of factors rather than a single cause. A major issue is overwhelming debt, particularly from infrastructure projects tied to China's Belt and Road Initiative. The COVID-19 pandemic worsened financial instability, triggering recessions and long-term economic damage. In China, a crisis in the real estate sector has led to developer defaults and declining property sales, further weakening economic confidence. Beyond debt and the pandemic, geopolitical tensions, such as the US-China trade war, have disrupted global trade, slowing economic growth. Political instability in several Asian nations has further shaken investor confidence, making recovery more difficult. Internal governance issues, including corruption and mismanagement, have also drained national resources, discouraged foreign investment, and hindered development. Additionally, the energy crisis has severely impacted economies reliant on energy imports. Rising energy prices have led to increased production costs, inflation, and reduced consumer purchasing power, further deepening economic distress across the region. With all these factors at play, it is clear that no country is truly immune to economic crisis. However, even in the midst of financial uncertainty, there are always opportunities hidden within the risks. The real question is, Who will be able to adapt, survive, and emerge stronger?